If a hazard you identify on the worksite is not in your hazard register, then you need to do a job safety analysis or risk assessment to decide what controls to use. This is how the form appears in your work kit folder. There is also a version on the Safety Work Kits app. The process we're going to follow is similar in both cases. The hazard that we're going to assess is not in the Safety Work Kits hazard register, but it is one that has potential for property maintenance contractors who work on residential sites, and that is dog bites. So to start the assessment or the analysis, make sure that you put the details first on the form. Your name, the date of the assessment, the location of where the hazard is. You need this for later reference purposes. And then make sure you write on the Safety Work Kits phone app and on the paper copy what the hazard is. In this case, it's dog bites. Now, the first thing we're going to look at when we do this assessment is to decide whether or not there is a risk and is it worth doing something about. And that's the purpose of the matrix at the bottom here. Now, the matrix is not shown on the Safety Work Kits phone app, but the information that needs to go in to achieve the result is there, so you follow the same process. So let's do it here on the paper copy to see how it is that we reach an assessment on whether this is a serious risk that needs to be taken notice of or not. Now, the matrix runs with two scales. First of all, how much harm could result, and then what is the chance of an accident or incident happening. Now, how much harm is a scale. It goes from scratches and bruises involving no treatment up to multiple deaths. It's quite a steep rise, as you can see. Scratches and bruises, cuts and bruises requiring first aid, broken bones or a hospital, a person killed, several people killed. Again, a very steep rise is noted here. In the what is the chance of an accident, it goes from almost no chance of happening through to absolutely will happen, covering not very likely, could happen, probably will happen, up to the absolutely will happen. So again, a fairly steep lifting curve there as well on that scale. So in this particular instance of dog bites, we need to determine first of all how much harm could result. Now, is it going to kill several people? No, it's not going to do that. Kill one person? Very, very unlikely that it's going to do that. Broken bones or hospital? Possibly, maybe. Cuts and bruises requiring first aid? Yeah, there's a real potential for that. A little bit more than scratches and bruises not requiring any treatment. So we need to choose which of these here would be a reasonable estimation of what could happen. I've chosen cuts and bruises requiring first aid. What's the chance of this accident happening? Almost no chance? Well, it could happen. Not very likely to happen? Maybe more? Could happen. Yeah, there's a definite chance that it could happen. We can't say it absolutely will happen, we can't say it probably will happen, but we can say it could happen. So let's mark that there. Now, how do we get an assessment? Very simple. Draw a line down there, draw a line across there, and where those two lines intersect, you've got your risk level. In this case, it's an M, which stands for medium. If it had been in an H, it would have been high. If it had been in an E, it would have been extreme. If it's in an L, you don't worry about it. But if it's medium, high, or extreme, you need to do something about it. We've identified a risk. You'll achieve the same result when you enter into the Safety Work Kits phone app as well, if you choose those two fields. But what do we do? Well, let's have a look and see. If you're using your Safety Work Kits folder in the paper copy, simply turn the page over and you'll see there it is, step 3, work out the controls needed to manage this hazard. If you're using the Safety Work Kits phone app, just go on to the next step, which of course is step 3, work out the controls needed to manage this hazard. Now, in here there are 5 questions we will ask ourselves. These questions are based on the hierarchy of controls that we've discussed before. The first question we ask ourselves then with respect to this hazard is, can the hazard be removed from the site and work still continue? Well, in this case, likely not. You see, we're not in control of that part. The dog belongs to our client. We can't insist that the client gets rid of their dog. So step 2, can the hazard be replaced or substituted with something different. Well, again, that's probably not within our control. We can't insist that the client changes their dog so that we can have less of a risk presented to us. So neither of those two are going to work in this particular instance. Step 3, can the hazard be isolated to prevent people being harmed? That has some real potential here. Maybe the animal could be put away in a separate location while we're doing the job there. Step 4, can the job procedure be changed to produce one with lower risk? Well, again, that has some potential as well. Maybe the timing of the job, when we're doing it, when the animal's not there, or maybe by involving the client in assisting us to manage that particular animal, that can be part of a procedure change that will work in this particular situation. And the 5th question, can personal protective equipment help here? Well, it's possible that we could use some sort of personal protective equipment, maybe even a stick to keep the dog away from us or something like that. But as you can see, as an effective control, it's somewhat limited. But we do have isolating and procedure change, as well as a little potential for personal protective equipment as being controls that could be applied in managing this hazard. So let's put those down on our sheet and then apply them. So here we are, we've got them written in here, the controls now. The first control we're thinking about is having the dog tied up or locked away. The second one is calling the client before we get there and ask them to perform the securing of the dog. The third one there, perhaps carry a stick. I don't know how effective that one would be. But you see, in your procedure, then what you do is that you have a process whereby before you go to that client, you do give them a phone call and ask them to secure the dog away in a place so that you can work safely there. Now, if you want to, you can then add this into your hazard register in one of the blank spaces at the back. And you simply put in the hazard, which is dog bites, the harm, which is cuts and bruises and other lacerations, the controls as they're listed here, and then every now and then you would assess it to see if this is still effective as a control in your workplace. Now that's just a simple demonstration of how you can do a job safety analysis or risk assessment on any particular activity, threat, hazard that you might identify in the workplace that requires you to do something to control the hazard and bring the risk down. And just following that simple process on every occasion allows you to bring some measures into place, following through the steps here using the hierarchy of controls process, and then you've got some controls to manage a hazard that is in your workplace and to lower the risk of harm to yourself or to others.